Welcome to a new video. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. The first story is called, "You Must Find Your Own Replacement." I used to work as a server for a casual restaurant. The managers there were lazy and constantly adding new policies that nobody wanted to follow. I was generally a good employee. I showed up on time, worked to the best of my ability on my shift, even going above and beyond for customers at points, because the customers' opinions mattered way more to me than that of the manager. It's unethical to work with food when you're ill. But the first time I got a cold and called in sick, the managers called me out at the next staff meeting and said I was being a bad team member by letting everyone down and calling in sick to get out of doing my work. Soon after this, they implemented a new policy: all employees who are unable to attend their shift must find their own replacements or else they must show up. I found this ridiculous, as it's the manager's job to find someone to take a shift if one employee can't make it. So one morning when I woke up with a high fever at 9 and I spent the hour texting the limited amount of coworker contacts if they could cover my shift for me. Of course, they all said no, it was pretty last minute. So after an hour of attempting to find my replacement, I called the manager 5 minutes before my shift was supposed to start. The conversation went as follows: "Hi manager, I woke up with a fever this morning and I feel very unwell, so I am unable to come to work today. When is your shift?" 10 to 4, sir. Inside I was thinking, shouldn't he know my shift? He's the one who schedules our shifts. Okay, and have you found your replacement to take your shift? No sir, I just spent the last 55 minutes contacting the co-workers I have the information of, which is only 6 people. They were all unavailable. So I will need you to come into work today because you have no replacement, yes? I have a fever, it's not safe for me to come to work and handle food. That wouldn't be fair to the customers. Well, then I need a doctor's note. Okay, but my doctor doesn't take same-day appointment requests, so I can bring a note next week when my doctor is available. However, the note won't say anything as most fevers don't last more than a couple days. He was silent. I tried to the best of my ability to find a replacement for my shift due to your policy. But I only have contacts for a few of my co-workers. I do believe you have a complete list of all the workers here and could contact them on my behalf, but the policy says I have to do that, so I did. If you call in sick again like this, I will have to write you up. Yes sir, I understand. I apologize for the inconvenience. The next time I showed up to work, my coworker told me that since my shift had basically started by the time he hung up the phone, he didn't have time to go through the list and find me a real replacement, so my manager had to be my replacement and work as a server. The policy still existed after that, but nobody followed it, and I quit a few months later. The next story is called, "I Won't Put the Signs That Save You Money." I worked for a chain of petrol stations in the United Kingdom as a supervisor. I used to go store to store, to help keep them clean, stocked and staffed. When contactless card readers were first introduced, the owners refused to put them in any store. The ones people can just tap their card on if the payment is under £30. More and more people were getting contactless cards, but the bosses still refused. Their logic was sound initially in that if people were filling their tank, they were going to spend more than £30. The majority of people, however, were filling up just enough to use their contactless payment and then getting mad that they had to enter 4 numbers. Anyway, this led to one person every 10 minutes kicking off that we weren't able to take contactless payments, and one person every 30 minutes messing up their PIN and then not being able to make a payment. In every site I went to, every day of the week. I had a particularly bad week where I had to let about £1,500 worth of petrol go over 3 sites because people assumed we were contactless and then forgot their PINs. If anyone's ever not been able to pay for petrol in the United Kingdom, there is nothing they can do to get you to come back. The police won't deal with it unless the person is a repeat thief over several months and stores. Genuinely, if you are ever stuck for cash and need to fill up, drive off for less than £50 just once and there will likely never be any follow-up. So I let these people leave, they never come back and we get blamed because the customer didn't know we weren't contactless. I put signs up on all of the pumps and went around 10 sites, politely informing all customers to either know their PIN or have cash. It works really well for about a week until we have our area manager going around for site visits. He gets to site number 1 and sees the signs on the pumps and flips out. Sending messages in the manager's chat demanding any sites with signs on their pumps take them down, as the fuel supplier would not be happy that we were defacing their signs with our own. Personally, I thought they would be angry that we were giving their fuel away for free, but whatever. All the signs were taken down and we start losing money again, as expected. I wasn't standing for being scolded like a child for thinking about loss and decided, okay, no signs on the pumps. I spent the next day making crudely drawn signs that I then plastered in the front windows of 5 or 6 stores that managers agreed with me and found it hilarious. The windows were blacked out save the window by the till so the cashier can see the forecourt with signs facing outward looking like they had been drawn up by a toddler. It went from a subtle printed sign on each pump to plastered windows. No signs on the pumps though. The third story is called, You Should Find Another Shop to Work. I've worked in a small barbershop for a year and 3 months now. When I was hired, I was not informed of the previous working conditions I was to be filling in for. My boss, the shop owner, a 62-years-old female, neglected to inform me that her previous staff had some issues. She also had this horrendous tendency of complaining about everything at work. Some days it was her grandkid. Other days, it was how her boyfriend won't propose, but when he did, she just wasn't good at commitment. There were negative comments flung about on anything. You get the picture. Some days, however, she was extremely laid back and tolerable. I weathered through the rough patches of slow days and her bad attitudes. I attempted to discuss her issues in healthy ways so she wouldn't share them with clients. I even opened and closed the shop and covered for her when she decided to take random vacations. Eventually, things began to settle, until about a year into working there. She became sporadic and impulsive. Much more than usual, to say the least. She would fly into bouts of anger and throw tantrums about clients for no reason. She decided to break it off with her boyfriend for not building her a lake house. She hired a new barber despite us not needing one. She began dodging haircuts she didn't like, and more. Yet the final straw that broke the horse's back was definitely when she tried to sell the shop out from under us without telling us. The issue here is that she was telling clients, but not her employees. The new barber was raging and clients had begun to leave. This was an issue I couldn't overlook. So, as the shop manager, I took it upon myself to finally confront her when we were alone in the shop. I asked what her plans were and that we just needed to know for communication's sake. At least so we could plan appropriately. With which I was only told, don't worry, I have a plan. You guys can still work here. That wasn't an answer for me though. So I responded with, alright, as long as you have a plan, and can communicate it with us, then I'm fine with that. Later that night she texted me the following, we will no longer be discussing my business. If I mention it to my customers, that's my business. When it has to do with you, I will let you know in plenty of time. Please keep your opinions to yourself. I am not mad. This is just simply my business and I would appreciate it if we kept it that way. If you don't like the way I run my business, and if I get on your nerves so bad, you should not be working here. From this day forward, I will do things my way. Without any input. Thanks. So in short, I told her thanks for an answer and I'll see her in the morning. The next morning I opened the shop as usual and didn't say a single thing to her for the entire day. Halfway through, the new girl came up and told me that my boss said I was giving her the silent treatment. My boss was acting shady because she knew I was up to something. So she left early that day in order to prevent a confrontation. I helped the new girl finish the day out. Then I packed all of my stuff in my car and left her a letter of resignation. I then texted her to say, I've left my letter of resignation on your register. I appreciate the opportunity to work and gain clients. From now on, I'll be doing things my way without any input. Good luck in whatever you do and please do not contact me. Since then I've been offered jobs by 3 different shops. And have had clients from her shop contact me saying my boss doesn't understand why I left and has shut the shop down randomly. The new girl said my boss was in total shock over me leaving. The last story is called, Follow the Rules. I work in waste in a large public building and we have a team of about 10 people who each service up to 9 rooms with 4 huge half-ton bins in each. It's often dirty work and it's a struggle to attract workers, so the guys that remain are often reliable and very hard working. It being a public service also means the people will work above and beyond what they're supposed to as it saves money. We're also on near minimum wage for hauling this stuff through 8 miles of walking each shift. So last year a new boss arrives and she immediately starts questioning the way everything works. That's fine, she's here to learn and might bring in new ideas. However, soon she begins to point fingers at good workers and complain about costs. Some of these guys are giving an hour extra or more a week and their efforts just weren't up to her ideals. We start to think she's trying to find problems so as to cut staff. One day one of the guys goes into the men's changing rooms. He sits on a seat to tie his shoelaces and she walks in. No announcement, no chaperone. It's in the rules that she has to be accompanied by a senior male member of staff to protect her as much as any staff member. The guy was put on disciplinary. Another day, another guy, pushing a noisy trolley of equipment, gets pulled for making too much noise. We tried to explain it's not our responsibility to repair the equipment and we have no control over the noise it makes and we still have to get the job done. Another day a non-waste member of the public jumps into our lift and refuses to leave. The boss sees this and disciplines the guy for letting a member of the public in there. So we all decide to have a little chat in private and to stop doing free time, stop rushing, and to refuse to use faulty equipment on safety grounds. The place came to a halt within 2 days, with people phoning the boss and asking why the rubbish wasn't taken, to which she calls a meeting and starts asking angry questions. Slowly she starts to realize that she's caused this and that it isn't going to be fixed with her shouting down guys. A few weeks pass and we end up with another meeting. Now she has put forward a new contract and asked us to all sign over to worse conditions and less money, as the department is in dire financial problems. We say that it is not our problem, go to the government and complain. So now we've had all our overtime taken away with the time being offered to an agency. But the agency guys have refused to come as they don't like messy work. She doesn't understand that they get to choose, and that work isn't being done again. She now has to learn that we understand our rights as well as our responsibilities, and that she has some responsibilities herself. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.